Most are afraid of unknown depths, skirting shores thinking world flat. And with the island girls in celebration of new religion. Nobody led me or said this way. I sailed alone on makeshift raft with wind as companion. Fate for deliverance, confidence enough to assess new disposition. Seekers of lost paradise may seem fools to those who never sought the other worlds. Welcome to Momentary Zen with Zen Garcia. Visit www.fallenangels.tv. You're listening to Revolution Radio.
An illusion it will be, so large, so vast, it will escape their perception. Welcome, friends, readers, listeners, and viewers from across America and around the world. I'm your host, Zen Garcia. This is Momentary Zen here on Revolution Radio. It's always a great honor and a pleasure to be here with you and to have a chance to share this platform of truth, to speak about all things esoteric. I'm joined this evening by my good friend Erin Moffat as we continue our once every other month introspection into just that, all things esoteric. How are you doing, Erin?
Well, thank you for having me once again. I am blessed for the most part. I will ask for a small prayer for me and my family. I know that our animals are a small thing compared to our people, but we did lose a kitty cat. So if anyone would just pray for mostly my girls and that, but it was hard for me too. I was surprised how hard it was going to be. But that's the biggest news update I have. And now being an adult and being the parent and having to go through putting your animals down for, this just was really a bummer. So I would just bring that up just for some small prayers and that. But otherwise, as you know, I'm engaged to be married, and we are going to tie the knot officially in the next few days.
Wow. Congratulations. And yes,
so, big ups and downs.
Yeah, it's no small thing to lose a family member. Our animals are definitely like our children and are especially bonded to all of us, and growing up sharing so much time and love with them. I have 3 Persian cats myself that I'm very close to, that I would feel it deeply if I were to lose any of them, and they are up in age, and so I consider every day, a true blessing to be able to hang out and to share time and space with them. But yeah, I feel your loss. I do pray for you, but congratulations on your soon coming marriage. That is very exciting, and I know that the guy that you were, I don't remember his name, but I believe he was coming to Montana, and that y'all were going to be settling there. Is that correct?
That's right. And again, thank you for the understanding of losing a pet. I'll say this real quick and then I'll get to the good part, but I feel like I have been very cold towards people and their pets, and it's been a real lesson to me where I've accepted correction in this, that the Lord has said, people might appear to love their pets like people, but they don't. They're just, it is just a pet, and yet there's a loss and a love and a heartbreak with that. So to all people with animals and loss, I definitely will be much more compassionate towards that in the future. And I learned a lesson in that. But yes, his name is Sean Walden, and he is a Christian hip hop artist, very much like Destiny Lab, and that's how I met him.
Awesome, yeah.
So I was doing videos for Destiny Lab, creating edited videos for them, and I said, I need to hear more music like this. Where can I find this kind of music that's not just you guys? And he listed off several Ninja Scroll is what he goes by, and Praying Mantis, and quite a few others. And I started just following them all on any platform that they had. And Sean and I, who goes by Ninja Scroll, started getting into conversation. He started getting into cryptocurrency like you and I did a little bit, not quite as much as you and I did, but his interest level was there. And that's where we first started talking was, well, let's talk about cryptocurrency. And then it quickly manifested into more. Yeah. And he's been the pursuant, which is great because that's not my job. So I've been very happy about it.
Well, fantastic. I'm so excited for both of you, and congratulations. And yeah, it's such a small world how because I love Destiny Lab. They're my favorite band, and I love all their music and have been listening to them for a long time and turning a lot of people onto their music. And so for you to have that connection, and then this, you're marrying this guy, and it's awesome. It's just
I know
it's beautiful thing.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And yes, he is coming here to answer your question on that, to Montana. And the biggest reason is I would have considered moving there perhaps, but he was in New Jersey, and that is a very blue state, very harsh rules with very severe jab and mask restrictions. And so I think he's all too happy to leave, to be honest.
Oh, no doubt. It's a escape to freedom. I also used to spend my winters in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which I have told people and those that are familiar with my story. And so, yeah, it's a difference between night and day. It's like going from the concrete jungle to, little Africa or the wilderness, where big sky, Montana,
right.
And then here, there in Jackson Hole, you have 5,000 people living there, and there's more animals, 15,000 elk just in the wintertime that come down and get fed there outside of. But then you have Yellowstone right north of that, so a huge, huge nature preserve. The bison and the wolf and bald eagles and families. You can see them, 6 of them in a tree all together. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah, you definitely can't experience that kind of thing there in New Jersey. I don't believe. And so yeah,
no, not at all.
Yeah, and the whole East Coast of the United States is really one big elongated city from, definitely from New York all the way down south through Florida. It's all just concrete and interstates and cities dotting the eastern seaboard, so yeah, so completely different vibe, feel, quality of life, even the air. I remember I went from Jackson Hole, and we did a Grateful Dead tour and went to Richfield, Ohio, then the Spectrum in Philadelphia, and then to New York, which I did not want to go to New York, but we woke up late and I ended up having to drive my friends up there. And I just remember driving up there and seeing all of the interstates, all the off ramps and all the buildings stacked to the horizon, and just wondering, where do all these people go when the sun comes up and they have to leave these buildings? Because it was like there's not enough room on the ground for all of them. Just complete insanity. And then the other thing that I remember is just the quality of the air and the feeling, the vibe of the city. Because there in New York, they don't allow the homeless or just the people that don't have houses, or they don't allow you to use the restroom. And so all these people are, going in the alleys or in the parking garages and using the bathroom, and then when it rains, it smells like a sewage waist up.
Oh,
I mean, it's just absolutely sickening. And I had to leave. I was supposed to stay there for 6 days, but I ended up getting sick just because of the air quality, and just, I couldn't handle it. It was horrible, and I never have been back since. But I don't know if it's still that way. I hope it's not. But that was my experience. But when I did leave, I saw the sun rise in between the twin towers, and that was a really cool experience. I pulled over on the interstate and just watched it rise up through there. It was pretty cool. But um, anyway, so yeah, very excited and happy for you. And I had thought that because the Secret Covenant is only like 5 short pages, that at the beginning of the show, we could read through it and just comment on it, and share it with those that have never heard it before. If you're up and willing and game for
wow,
that.
that's a great idea. So yeah, just to let everybody know, normally Zen turns it over to me, and tonight we're going to kind of go on his lead, if as it were, with this book, which I did try to cover as much as possible. I have read some of it before, and I will mention how I included some of it in a video I made. So don't let me forget that. But yes, let's read that and continue from there.
That sounds fantastic. And again, for the people that don't know what the Illuminati Secret Covenant is, this is absolutely going to blow your mind. And it's something that you can, find online and share um, with your friends and family members, and those that already think you're crazy anyways. This really gives an insider look on the agenda, and the kind of organized evil, and how decades and even centuries out they have been planning and plotting, and how they have also been able to successfully bring their plans to fruition. And so, yeah, I thought we would do that. But before we do, I just want to, because we are seeing the unfolding of a lot of, even what we're going to be talking about this evening. But with the war in Ukraine, and how all that is escalating, and of course we had all the, you know prior to that, all the pandemic and everything unfolding, and it's just like one domino to the next, to the next, to the next. And it's like, people, if you're not awake to that these are some very serious times, and that people should at least be, as we've been talking about for a long time now, putting some effort into just gathering supplies for emergency scenarios. Um, that, yeah, I mean, you're foolish if you're leaving it to chance, because it does not take much at all for the shelves to be empty, to cities to be not be able to get the supplies that they need to cater to their populations, and those that don't already have, a small stockpile of necessities, food, water, emergency supplies, medicine, firearms to protect yourself and to protect your supplies. You're going to be in a bad situation. And we're seeing different examples of this all the time now, from a huge thing as the Ukrainian war, but also to what happened in New Orleans with Hurricane Katrina. And I mean, just anything. It doesn't, even just the supply chain crunch. There's so many things that are out of stock that you can't get anymore. Even ordering, from Amazon Fresh or whatever. I mean, so much is just out of stock. It's you can feel it everywhere with all that's going on. So, comment from you?
Yeah, I started kind of stocking up as much as I could
Right.
when the whole pandemic started, and as much as I could wasn't a lot. So I have probably enough to last a few weeks, but the mindset is in a different place. So we are at a place now, and we've talked about this, Zen and I, a couple months ago. A lot of you guys were there for that, about how we could come together as people in
Yes.
real life when these situations come down, and we're still serious about that.
Right.
Whether we go to where Zen is, or whether we, come together in a different place, we can come together because we've been here, and we absolutely should. And my email is ladyliberty@countermail.com. I continue to tell you guys, reach out if you can, while you can, on those kinds of the internet. It may go down, it may not, we don't know. But if we get prepared to accept that things could get hard, even if we don't have a bunch of food, even if we don't have solar panels already, even if we don't have a water source, we will figure it out together, because we've already been praying for these things and praying for the Lord to show us. Or perhaps it's in his will that we won't make it that long after something like that. But regardless, we're going to live according to his will. And if we come together, we know that the Bible does talk about places of refuge and cities of refuge, even, where we could come together for each other, with each other, as much as possible. And that reaching out in real life is a thing we can and should do. And it doesn't mean we have to get together right now and hurry, because maybe things won't work out that way. But when and if they do, at least we'll have each other's contact information, a place to find each other, even if it comes down to snail mail. So that's what I have to say about that. Once again, is what we said 2 months ago. And if anybody missed that one, go back 2 months and listen to that show, because we did talk about how we can come together and create a place of refuge for each other, because each with our own gifts, we can certainly survive. Alone, it's almost going to be impossible. The lone person is not going to make it out there on their own easily, if at all. I mean, you could think of pioneer days. They didn't leave on a wagon trail one at a time. They came in massive groups because they were going through treacherous territory. So together we can do this, and whatever the Lord's will be for our lives.
Yes, yes. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I think it's very important that we continue to try to stress community in these very trying times. And I do want to invite and ask people to contact you, to reach out, which we will put Erin's email with this show, and it is in the chat room. And we want to ask people, those of you that would like to reach out and to form, and because we're trying to right now just gather information for people that might be in a certain state. If you are in, because we have a lot of listeners, a lot of followers, and a lot of true believers. And so if you're in a different state, let's all try to at least share where we may be, develop a loose network to where if we need to reach out, or at least to where we would know where we are. And if we have to reach out to one another to come together in a time of a emergency, or if somebody does have a place already set up to where they can you know uh, invite people in. And of course, we have to be very careful. We talked about this as well. You certainly want to vet who you would invite into, or come into your life or your circle. And that's another thing about developing community now, is we can uh, reach out and develop these relationships to where we can come to know one another and learn to trust each other and to earn and develop that trust, and see where things can go. I certainly don't think it could hurt, and that it could only be a benefit for people everywhere. There's um, got to be a lot of believers out there that are already trying to escape from the grid to establish um, rural land plots to be self-sufficient or subsistent, or that even just have that knowledge and that information, and you just want to share with people, or come together where we can just talk. Have a group where, like we do the Digital Readers Club, where we're just reading from ancient manuscripts and sharing conversation and praying for one another. But even communities like that, ecclesia, I think those kind of things are important for people to share and to come together. Even one or two voices or people coming together, and Christ said that where one or two are gathered, there he shall be as well. But even praying for each other is so very powerful. And even for myself, I've had a lot of you pray for certain health issues that I've had, and uh, it has really, really helped. And I really thank all of you so much for having done that. And so I know without a doubt that the power of prayer can be life altering. And it's something freely achievable, and something that we can all do just in being a little concerned for one another. It doesn't take long. You can reach out in an email and ask people to pray for you, or and be specific about whatever circumstance, issue, situation you may be dealing with, going through. And I really think that the power of the saints coming together, that the Most High hears His people, and that He really does work and move, and does cater to prayer. And so, yeah, let's continue to do that. So, if you would, Aaron, give out your information one more time, and then we'll move on into this, the secret covenant.
Yes, Lady Liberty at countermail.com. And also in the chat, I put up there the Discord server where we have a channel for, when stuff hits the fan type of stuff, and how to prep, and just start a little bit at a time. I won't go on because we did it 2 months ago. But like Zen said, just checking out your circle, praying about it, praying for each other, and we can do this together. Absolutely.
Yes. And I think I just missed a super chat, but I want to thank everybody in the chat room, in the listening audience. Those of you that would like to join us in conversation, you can go to our Zen Garcia YouTube channel. That's always where we live stream, and you can join in the conversation there. Speak with us, share your commentary, ask questions. But we thank all of you that do gather and and join us in circle every Wednesday and Thursday and Saturday, and the other times we do other shows. But let's go ahead and go into this Illuminati secret covenant. And again, this is something that people can find online, but it's amazing how few are familiar with this particular document, and how it is that once you've read it, I mean, your mind will be absolutely blown. And if you don't know about the New World Order, and you don't know about the agenda of the elites, and how they, as Christ said, ye are of your father, the devil, and that they, as a bloodline, their ancestors have been the murderers of the prophets all the way back to Abel. I mean, they have been utilizing assassination as part of their strategy to keep the elite, keep the masses in ignorance, and also to hide and to push forth an agenda, which, as we said, is part of the New World Order plot to bring forth world government, to have this royal bloodline, the seed of Cain, ruling with the divine right to rule, and to decide the questions of, the larger destiny and fate of humanity as a whole, which we know that their agenda is evil, and they want to lead us into a police state, new world order, brave new world, Orwellian tyranny, and one that benefits them at the expense of everybody else. And it's because of that that Yahushua, as Savior Messiah, spoke that he would come again, and that if he did not, that there should be no flesh left, that there will be wars and rumors of wars, earthquakes in diverse places, pestilences and famines, all the things that we're seeing in, the daily news now. But we're going to go ahead and begin. Anytime you want to stop me and just comment, I'm also going to be stopping, every few paragraphs or so to comment myself, and also to get you to comment as we move through this. And as I said, it's only about 5 pages long, so we should be able to go through it pretty easily. The Illuminati Secret Covenant. An illusion it will be so large, so vast, it will escape their perception. Those who will see it will be thought of as insane. We will create separate fronts to prevent them from seeing the connection between us. We will behave as if we are not connected to keep the illusion alive. Our goal will be accomplished one drop at a time, so as to never bring suspicion upon ourselves. This will also prevent them from seeing the changes as they occur. And so we see that, even with the protocols of the learned elders of Zion, which we put the secret covenant together with the protocols, and we sell a book called The Illuminati Secret Covenant and Protocols. And you can find that at sacredwordpublishing.com. And we also have a portion of the occult technology of power, the false left-right paradigm, because it's important to understand how the opposition, the left and the right, are both the same thing, and that the illusion of contention, of the false controlled opposition, this is all to keep you distracted from the real enemy, to keep the minorities divided and at each other's throats, so that we never break away from what is this false struggle to really understand the larger agenda and who the true enemy is. And so that's the way they keep us, distracted, so that we can never know really what's going on. Erin?
Agreed. And they say illusion, the word illusion. What is an illusion? A lot of times with magicians, whether
Right.
not the magicians that are necessarily seeking demonic help, but it's a sleight of hand. Look over here while I'm doing something over there. And they say
Right.
one drop at a time, because it is so slow. And
Yes.
I know that we are seeing a lot of things, and I won't go on because I have more to say obviously later, but there's so much to be said about that small little drip of change that they make, and that people won't see it until they get to the point of cognitive dissonance that, like Bill Cooper said, you could put the proof in front of their face and you could have the pictures right there. You could have the proof as clear as day, and they will not see it because they've been
Right.
given this one little drop at a time until they no longer believe anything else that they're told.
Yeah. It's that whole thing of, boiling a frog You just turn the heat
Yes,
up a
yes,
little at
yes.
a time. But yeah, fully. All right, let's continue. We will always stand above the relative field of their experience, for we know the secrets of the absolute. We will work together always and will remain bound by blood and secrecy. Death will come to he who speaks. We will keep their lifespan short and their minds weak while pretending to do the opposite. We will use our knowledge of science and technology in subtle ways so they will never see what is happening. We will use soft metals, aging accelerators, and sedatives in food and water. Also in the air, they will be blanketed by poisons everywhere they turn. And so you can see that this whole bound by blood and secrecy, this is like the Freemasons and the secret societies, the mystery schools, and how they threaten death even to their own people should they speak out or to reveal their secrets. They believe they're the chosen ones and that they have, again, the divine right to rule over all the masses, and that if they just tell us, hide everything in plain sight, then it's our own ignorance that brought about our own demise. And you see also how they plot, the whole thing with the Georgia Guidestones and the agenda for depopulation and to control birth and natural birth and those kind of techniques and to create an infertility. All this has been produced by the snake bite and poisoning the food, the water, the air, as they say, the aerosol injection, the chemtrails. Um, a lot of people are finally starting to wake up to that because it's absolutely mind blowing to consider that a portion of some group outside of government is spraying chemicals into the air above all the cities of the world before it rains in order that those rains bring down those toxins and spread it like illness and disease amongst the populace that live here on the ground, the people and the animals, the trees, nature, everything being uh, ill affected. Um, I mean, and how much that has to cost when you consider all the urban populations, all the metropolitan areas that are blanketed by these labyrinths of back and forth lines spread across the skies. I mean, that it's got to be an insurmountable amount of money just to keep this campaign ongoing for all these years. I mean, who's behind it? What are they trying to achieve? And why is there no accountability? You know, I mean, thinking about those kind of things, um, it's and for people to consider that, I mean, again, absolutely mind blowing. Erin, care to comment?
Yes. Okay, so a few things. That's why I take notes while you talk, because otherwise I forget everything. Because
Yeah, right.
you say so much, and it's great, and I want to speak to a lot of it. They talk about shortening lives. We know that we were given 120 years, and yet we don't come
Hmm.
even anywhere close to that. And we're
Right,
so amazed when somebody lives over 100. Oh my gosh, so and so's 104, and they're still
right.
kicking. Oh, so and so's 101, and they can actually still exercise. We should be able to make it to 120 years
Hmm.
scripturally. That's what the Bible has
Yes.
told us. And we believe, oh, we've come so far. We've got these medicines and modern medicine. We're so futuristic, and we've created an ability for us to live so many more years, and yet our lives are severely shortened. Weakening the mind and pretending to do the opposite. I went to the periodontist today, and for anyone, if that sounds really fancy, it's just a doctor that does like gum surgeries and tooth implants. I don't need any teeth implants, but I do need, possibly don't need, would like a gum surgery because I have a root that's I'm explaining this for a reason. I have a root that's showing, and it's very sensitive. It's very hard to go to the dentist. It's very difficult to argue with them why I won't let them clean that one tooth because it is so painful. But while I'm there and they're talking about the options for what you can do with a tooth like that, well, one of the options is to use what's called Sensodyne, which is a toothpaste that helps that root not be so sensitive. It coats it over time. The problem with that kind of toothpaste, Sensodyne and other brands like it, you cannot find one easily. There might be one, but it is very hard to find without fluoride. Well, the doctor overheard me and the tech talking about that. And I said, I really would love to use that, but I don't want the fluoride in it. And while I know I don't swallow a lot of toothpaste, one of the things we talked about is that I could use it before a dentist appointment or something. It might help for a week or so. Well, interestingly enough, the doctor comes in and he says, well, I want you to know, Erin, that all the studies do show, I overheard you talking, that all the studies, in my mind immediately, Zen, I'm like, your studies, okay?
Right.
His studies show that this is very harmless. And he says, and there's all these studies on fluoride in the water. And here in Billings, Montana, where I live, there is no fluoride in the water. And he says, but I wish there were. And all the things I wanted to say, but didn't. I just sat there and smiled and nodded. But I'm thinking, this is the kind of strong delusion that we're seeing. Is I worked in the medical field. We talk about the
Kool-Aid.
Yes, and shortening the lifespan. And here's the thing: is they rope people into it that aren't part of their, and you're going to get to that point. They talk about how they're going to rope people and that aren't going to be a part of it.
Right.
And I was roped in the medical field. I believed I was helping people. I believed I was doing good. I believed when I said, you're going to die from this cancer because there is no cure, that I was telling them a hard but honest and loving truth when there's a cure for cancer out there. And so it was very interesting. I wanted to bring that up about putting the metals in the water, and that we're lucky that we don't have it in our Billings water. But he said he wished that we did. And I wanted to say, how does drinking fluoride really help our teeth, sir?
Right.
And then he had to admit that it does give him more patience, allegedly, for us not to drink fluoride. I don't know.
Him. Right.
Yeah. And then one more thing I'll say, and then you go ahead.
Sure.
And then blanketed by poisons. We are not anywhere escaping from these chemicals that blanket our lives. They are here in Montana. They are up in the mountains, where I do not believe they are, and I've been told they are not, because I know people who grow their food and have food production businesses is in South America. And I fully intend to move my life there someday with my as a place of refuge for people, mainly because a lot of people are leaving. And as we talked about, and I won't continue on this because we talked about 2 months ago, we can learn to live without dollars. We can live off the land, and there's no chemicals being blanketed over us. So I just wanted to get that in, that blanketed by poison. I mean, it's amazing what you're reading. There's so much to say about it, but back to you.
Oh yeah, I know. This is again, it's absolutely mind-blowing how right there in your face everything is. But so South America, they don't spray a lot. That's amazing. I thought they pretty much sprayed everywhere, but that's cool to know. But yeah, let's continue. The soft metals will cause them to lose their minds. We will promote to find a cure from our many fronts, yet we will feed them more poison. The poisons will be absorbed through their skin and mouths. They will destroy their minds and reproductive systems. From all this, their children will be born dead, and we will conceal this information. The poisons will be hidden in everything that surrounds them, in what they drink, eat, breathe, and wear. We must be ingenious in dispensing the poisons, for they can see far. We will teach them that the poisons are good, with fun images and musical tones. Those they look up to will help. We will enlist them to push our poisons. They will see our products being used in film and will grow accustomed to them and will never know their true effect. When they give birth, we will inject poisons into the blood of their children and convince them it's for their help. We will start early on when their minds are young. We will target their children with what children love most, sweet things. And when their teeth decay, we will fill them with metals that will kill their mind and steal their future. When their ability to learn has been affected, we will create medicine that will make them sicker and cause other diseases, for which we will create yet more medicine. We will render them docile and weak before us by our power. They will grow depressed, slow, and obese. And when they come to us for help, we will give them more poison. I mean, those few paragraphs right there, in my mind, just show the whole truth of the medical field, and how they have slowly indoctrinated people into utilizing poisons, even like smoking, and how big that industry is, and how that just smoking cigarettes and the things that they put in it, the tar, the nicotine, and all these other chemicals. Um, it's so not healthy for people to do, and yet a large portion of the population is heavily addicted to smoking every day and really are killing themselves out of habit, and but yet can't do anything to stop themselves. And um and it's unfortunate, but that's one of the things. And then the whole other thing of putting things into the jab, um and then administering these kind of things to children when parents don't even have any idea, and they think that they're following the recommendations of their doctors, and that the medical establishment has all these procedures in line to take care of the health of the children and to protect us from disease and illness. And yet it's the absolute opposite, that these kind of things are creating disease and illness and cancer, and harming people to such a degree that they're forming all of these um, just terrible conditions, and then having lifelong pain and having to treat them with pharmaceutical medications and become dependent on these pills, which make them even sicker and give them even more side effects. I mean, it's right there in those paragraphs, exactly the truth of what they're doing. Erin?
Yes. So starting with the destroying reproductive systems,
Right.
there's a lot of reproductive problems that are probably and jab related. And I'm
Yes,
not
I
talking
agree.
about this one. I'm talking about all of them. If
Mhm.
you guys want to listen to or watch a good documentary, I would say look up Dell Big Tree. I'm not going to say the name of the video because unfortunately we can't say these words anymore. But he did a documentary that talks. They're all bad and all have been bad. Well, what about when we eradicated this and eradicated that? Well, let's look at what they did before they eradicated. Let's look at the kind of damage that we saw. And that was one of the biggest goals, was the reproductive system, as we can also see with the abortion clinics. But of course,
Planned
SIDS.
Parenthood.
Yeah, Planned Parenthood.
that.
And
Yeah.
look at SIDS. I mean, they want to say, oh, your baby died from nothing. That doesn't really make any sense. But yet, how many of us have believed it? I can include myself on that.
Right.
I believed that this was just something that happened because a baby just didn't thrive for some reason, was totally healthy all the way up until one night they just didn't wake up. And teaching that the poison is good. That is a massive indoctrination that comes from the medical field. When I was trained in the medical field, we were taught that you repeat what you're told or you're humiliated if you get the wrong answer in front of, especially in surgery. We'd be sitting there, 2, 3 doctors, a PA nurse, several nurses, techs, and we're holding organs and we're sitting there, okay, Erin, what's this? If I got that answer wrong, oh, you don't know that? Well, your predecessor knew that. And I was humiliated. I'll never forget the falciform ligament on the liver because that was the question is, what is this right here? And I didn't know what it was. But that's the problem, is that humiliation of getting the right answer. It doesn't matter if your answer is actually correct. You just believe it's correct because these people were there before you, right? And they went to 12 years of school, just like I almost, went to nearly 12 years of school. So I was humiliated into the right answer because I didn't want to look stupid in front of my soon-to-be peers when I was training in the medical field. So that's the answer you give. That's
Right.
the answer you have to give to your patients in the future too. You will give them you will do that because you were humiliated and then now you believe in it. You believe in it wholeheartedly. Right. I was thinking that people that were against any kind of jab were crazy, Zen.
Yes,
up until just a few years ago. I'm like, oh, what are they thinking? These are saving lives. And my children have had all but one, and I pray cleansing for them all the time. I think that we're blessed because they could have been worse.
Yes.
But they are not. They talk about not just poison in the food and drink, but the clothes, Zen. Do people ever think about the poison that could just be on our skin on a daily basis? I mean, and by the way, don't get scared, people. What do? We pray cleansing by the blood of Jesus Christ. We don't, we're not scared. We don't say, I can no longer wear clothes. Or I have to go out and spend a whole bunch of money on clothes that say they're free of this stuff, because you never really know. We just pray cleansing, teaching that it's good. Oh, from the cartoons, like the globe. What is the first thing you see in your kindergarten room, your preschool room? A globe. But shaping the minds with sweets, with the sugar, and what is so damaging to the body, then what is more damaging than sugar, and to the teeth, sugar to the blood, sugar to the pancreas. I mean, it's just devastating. More and more medication on top of more and more medication. And they talk about we'll grow depressed. Well, look at the depression, the anxiety, and the suicide rates. Didn't they just send this into 10-fold, 100-fold, or more with the lockdowns, the anxiety, the depression? And it happened to me. I felt anxiety, and I praise God because, like you said, you've asked people to pray for you for healing. I asked the same. And in the last year and a half ago, I was having so much anxiety. I woke up and all I could think was clean the house, clean the corners, get on the baseboards. My mind was going a million miles a minute. My heart was racing. I was scared that something was going to happen. And I've never felt like that, maybe in 20 years. I felt like that when I was back in my medical school days. And seemed like it was out of nowhere. And I prayed for healing, and boy, has the Lord healed me. So thank you, everybody, for your prayers. I just wanted to get that and talk of it. It affects us too, so that we can all look at this a little bit from the outside, because we've seen it, we've read this, we know it's coming, and yet it still can cause depression and anxiety in us too. We are not immune, right?
Right. Yes. And most of us did not learn about the war or the enemy until very much later in our lives. And that we have all been affected by the things that are being done to the environment all around us, with regard to the poisoning of everything, and how even preservatives and food, the MSG and everything that's added, it's horrendous. And it's only even been maybe the last decade that people have been trying to eat organically and eat foods that were not, with all these preservatives and all these weird food colors and additives and everything, because we just don't even know what they're putting in there anymore. They just name it anything, and it could be like even aspartame. I mean, that is a toxic substance that is banned everywhere else, and was only allowed to be approved by the FDA because of Donald Rumsfeld. But when you look at even that one ingredient and how it's a sugar substitute, and it's added to everything that is sugar free. You can't buy gum in the United States that does not have aspartame in it. It's unfortunate because I used to like eating gum, and I actually, get gums from like Korea and other places that don't have the aspartame, but you cannot purchase gum in America that does not have aspartame in it, and it's in all the diet drinks and all of that, and it's absolutely devastating to the body. I think the Dr. Lorraine Day did a whole video on it called "Sweet Misery," but we need to continue, otherwise we're just not going to make it through this. There's just so much to say.
I know
But
we could say so much. And I'll say one more
right,
thing real quick. One thing we
yeah,
can do is we can pray for cleansing for things that we knowingly ingest and unknowingly ingest. And we can always go to Jesus Christ to cleanse us and to pray for healing. So that's what I just want to say before you carried on.
yeah, no, absolutely. And I think really every 2 or 3 paragraphs of this is like an entire show. So, but yeah, I do want to try to cover this whole article in this one show so that people can have every bit of it. And I think we'll be even uh, able to do that with ease. So, all right. We will focus their attention toward money and material goods so they may never connect what with their inner self. We will distract them with fornication, external pleasures, and games so they may never be one with the oneness of it all. Their minds will belong to us and they will do as we say. If they refuse, we shall find ways to implement mind altering technology into their lives. We will use fear as our weapon. We will establish their governments and establish opposites within. We will own both sides. We will always hide our objective, but carry out our plan. They will perform the labor for us, and we shall prosper from their toil. Our families will never mix with theirs. Our blood must be pure always, for it is the way. We will make them kill each other when it suits us. We will keep them separated from the oneness by dogma and religion. We will control all aspects of their lives and tell them what to think and how. We will guide them kindly and gently, letting them think they are guiding themselves. We'll stop here for just a second, just because this is speaking about the bloodlines and how we see in Genesis that there's going to be this enmity between the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent, and how Christ spoke of them as being of their father, the devil. And that, of course, Cain, being the one that murdered Abel, he was the first murderer, liar, deceiver, and he was the one that, being the progenitor of this particular bloodline, he was the first assassin. And it was him and his bloodlines that are at war with the rest of the masses, even in this day and age. They are the ones that sit on the thrones of the world. They're the ones that take these blood oaths to keep their agenda in secrecy and their plans and objectives, planning, in these mystery schools, these Freemasonic lodges, and these secret societies. The agenda of this New World Order, the world government, and the push for depopulation and other things, which are just, again, absolutely bizarre when it comes to why would you support and why would you, even join groups or people that have this kind of ideology and mindset to slaughter others and to kill the innocent, to poison even themselves. I mean, it's absolute insanity. And yet, this is what the elite do and are in support of. And so, just absolutely crazy. I'll get you. Well, actually, we're at break for the first
Yeah, I'll
hour.
hold that
So,
thought. Don't worry. I have
yeah,
plenty to
yeah.
say.
Hold on to that thought. We'll go into this when we return back, and then we'll continue on And yeah, we're gonna make it through this document, and I hope those of you that haven't heard about it, that at least you are enjoying it. I hope that your mind is blown and that you're gonna decide to go and read it for yourselves and share it with others, and because it's important, I think. All right, we'll be right back for a second hour.
As a bookstore for truth seekers, it's our goal to make ancient manuscripts which were once held captive by secretive institutions available for public consideration. In our generation, where wisdom has increased as Daniel the prophet foretold, we have access to many of the testimonies our early church brethren were persecuted for preserving. After being hidden for centuries, these manuscripts have been leaked from various sources throughout the earth, and it's our goal to gather these sources into printable form to make available for all who seek the ancient way. If you're looking to deepen your studies of the biblical narrative, find these ancient manuscripts and more at sacredwordpublishing.com. Your partnership with Sacred Word Publishing goes further than the publishing of ancient manuscripts and weekly video content.
You also make a huge impact across the earth in orphanages in Myanmar, India, Uganda, and Kenya.
Your support is crucial for the development of the ecclesia of real truth seekers.
We thank you for joining us in hosting Secrets Revealed, Momentary Zen, the Digital Readers Club, Ask Me Anything series, and other shows that have helped lead so many to the truth of salvation.
To become even more involved, please visit patreon.com/sacredwordpublishing, where you can partake in exclusive, interactive, patron-only content and help us continue shining the light of love in this darkened world.
Many truth seekers are constantly studying alone. But there is a place where we can come together. The Digital Readers Club is our online ecclesia meant for those who've forsaken churchianity but still want the closeness of a family to study with. Join us every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time to put together the puzzle pieces of truth scattered throughout the ancient scriptures.
Hello friends, thank you for joining us this evening. I'm your host, Zen Garcia.
One second that the Capitol will ever treat us fairly, you are lying to yourselves. Because we know who they are and what they do. This is what they do, and we must fight back. You can torture us and bomb us. Fire is catching. And if we burn, you burn with us.
Good evening.
Are you awake yet? I hope. We've tried and we've tried for years and years to use passive resistance and loud voices to make a change. The time is over. Your governments around the world have no other goal than to decimate your entire existence at the hands of the bankers and the elites. The war is coming, and it's your choice to decide if you want to be a warrior or a victim. Denial is not a choice anymore. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the planet. Not giving up. Revolution Radio. All right. Thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
All right, welcome back, everybody, for second hour. People are asking, how you can find this document. I just have to search Illuminati Secret Covenant, and you can find a text of it on archives.org. And, as I said, it's very short. But I do want to turn it back over to you, Erin, and give you a chance to comment before we move on about that previous section with the bloodlines and all.
Yes, the bloodlines. Sorry, I had muted myself and I thought I unmuted.
You're good.
But one of the things it talks about is their belief in being the son of Cain. And one of the things it says in the document that I had is that it doesn't matter whether it's true or not. It matters that their belief is so strong that they will keep their bloodlines the way that they are. They will inbreed, they will do whatever it takes to keep their bloodlines in that way. And of course, I think there's lots of evidence to point to that they are possibly the lineage of Cain. And I did a video, so I wanted to mention my video that I included part of this book. And I even quoted part of it. I could try to find it. I tried to print this off and I tried to highlight it, but it wouldn't let me print it because I must not be able, I wasn't allowed to download it and print it. But it was something that it only matters what they believe. It doesn't matter, so if they believe this so strongly that this is what matters. So you could say, well, I don't believe in that stuff. But they do, and they believe very strongly. They also believe that they had a triple strand DNA. And I did a few videos, and I just dropped the link. My name is Abby someone in the chat, everybody, but I am Erin Moffat. My original channel was taken down, so a quick plug on that, just because if you want to sub to my new channel, I'm trying to re-upload a lot of the old stuff, but it just takes a little time, and plus, since it's a new channel, I don't know that I'll re-upload everything. But one of the videos several of the videos I did talk about that third strand DNA and how I believe they're trying to create another third strand. But for us, it's going to be a controlling third strand. It's going to overtake us where we will finally be slaves to a point that we don't even have a choice for. Like, you could say that's kind of how it is. Well, that's already how it is, Erin. However, it will be so much so that you could be like a superconductor, and they could write a program and you will do it. And that third strand would be laid down with, I think, Orm Gold, O-R-M-E. I won't get into it because my channel has several videos on it, but I wanted to mention that particular one that I just dropped the link for in the chat does quote this Illuminati covenant for what they say about the third strand and what they say about that it doesn't matter if we believe that Cain's lineage is of the devil. It matters that they believe it, and I believe there is enough evidence to show that he is, but it doesn't matter if you believe it or not. They do, and that's very important in what they're doing with their third strand DNA today. I think comparing to what they believed that they were. They were a special alien, right? Angel
Right.
DNA. And I just find that so fascinating. That's really what I wanted to speak on, particularly on that part right there.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, and it is that in and of itself is absolutely mind blowing as well. The particular article that speaks about their, being of this particular bloodline with the triple strand DNA and everything. I have a link for it, and I will post it into the chat room. It comes from an article that was released by Steve Quayle, and I believe you can find it by searching uh, "Life is like a box of chocolates," and it's an investigation on DNA. But yeah, I will post a link to it. And just to share a little bit about what you had said, I'll share a couple paragraphs from this particular article. It speaks about this um, this industrialist of one of the royal family. He hired a DNA geneticist to look at his his genetics to see if there was an anomaly, something different about, because they again believe they have triple strand DNA, and so this is what it says of that. His benefactor test subject believed that while most of the sons of Adam had double strand DNA, he had been told by his family that he and his blood relatives were distinctly different, and that he, like his fathers before him, had triple strand DNA. He wanted my friend to secretly prove once and for all if this was true or not. The subject claimed that his extended family and their cousins, who are kings, queens, princesses, and princesses, as well as leaders of industry and banking worldwide, believe they are children of an otherworldly race of humanoid beings. He'd been taught by his tutors that once upon a time his ancestors had fallen to earth after some cosmic calamity in the time before the garden. He believed that while their ancestral mother was Eve, their ancestral father was not Adam. He was torn to know if a child of Cain was actually genetically different and whether they could be saved. He thought of the Vatican's pronouncement that the aliens are our cousins, and that the Vishnu teachings of a time when gods flew in spaceships and destroyed whole cities in a single blast. He even had notes about Elijah being caught up in a chariot of fire. Maybe he had misread or misunderstood the entire history of his Bible. Maybe from Genesis to Revelation, it was about some far more tangible and real fallen angel, alien cousins than the ghost like destroying angels he'd always pictured in his imagination. His bloodline believed that they are our humanoid cousins, superior hybrids, half alien and only half human. They once reigned from Olympus and were pharaohs. And whatever the real truth of their history, their belief is the driver of their actions. Being the true believers they are, they will continue to operate in accordance with their belief and the laws of an alien Darwinian type survival. That's why they interbreed, to maintain the purity of their bloodline. And that's why they secretly meet and connive to pass power between themselves. And that's why they must fool the rest of mankind into wars of self-destruction and debt, so that we may be forever enslaved to their lusts on this prison planet till death do us part. More than afraid, they know in their hearts that this is a fight for survival. It had begun, just as my friend had said, as a murder investigation, starting with the first murderer when that Luciferian demon dad first whispered of the evil deed to his willing child, Cain. It continued down through time, the sons of Adam fighting for survival and destroying the alien giants in Canaan land. David and the hybrid Goliath and his 4 hybrid brothers, all of the hidden true believers since, hiding in plain sight, so powerful and so important, yet so afraid. These earthbound half cousins of ours continue to laugh, but it is a nervous laugh at that, as they have a joke or two at our expense, recreating their lying father's fall to earth and flashing their heretofore secret gang sign, hand signs, to each other right in our face, hidden in plain sight. I know now how dangerous their beliefs are, because they are being driven by their beliefs, taught to them by their real alleged father, the father of lies. And even now he knows the truth and whispers in his initiate's ears, just as he first did in Cain's ear. The sons of Adam, as long as they live, they are dangerous. And I will post a link to that entire article, which, if you want to take the time to read it, it is so very long and so much more in depth than what I just read. That was just a highlight of some of it. But here's the link for it. It was a Steve Quell alert. Oh, that's the wrong number. Well, give me just a few minutes and I'll post that in the chat room. But I do want to get back to this Illuminati Secret Covenant, and I'll give Erin a chance to comment. When we get to that point, then I'll post the link again into the chat room. But continuing really quickly. We will foment animosity between them through our factions. When a light shall shine among them, we shall extinguish it by ridicule or death, whichever suits us best. We will make them rip each other's hearts apart and kill their own children. We will accomplish this by using hate as our ally, anger as our friend. The hate will blind them totally, and never shall they see that from their conflicts we emerge as their rulers. They will be busy killing each other. They will bathe in their own blood and kill their neighbors for as long as we see fit. We will benefit greatly from this, for they will not see us. They cannot see us. We will continue to prosper from their wars and their deaths. We shall repeat this over and over until our ultimate goal is accomplished. We will continue to make them live in fear and anger through images and sounds. We will use all the tools we have to accomplish this. The tools we be provided by their labor. We will make them hate themselves and their neighbors. And so, again, we can see that the false left-right controlled opposition, the Illuminati is the Oz behind the mask, that, is pulling the strings and creating minorities and controlled opposition. And, it also says that when a light shall shine among them, we shall extinguish it by ridicule or death. I mean, does not fit right into that they are the murderers of the prophets? Because every time Christ said he sent a prophet among us to teach us and to show us the truth, that they would kill him, and that they did this to Zacharias, the father of John the Baptist, and even to John the Baptist himself, even to Yahushua as Savior and Messiah. So, I mean, this is exactly what they do and what they've done since the beginning. since the garden and the great calamity before the garden, their fall from heaven and their banishment to this particular realm. Erin?
Yeah, I'm going to go back a little bit to a little bit
Yeah.
before the break. They talked about money and material goods and how I know I'm speaking to the choir, but I want to speak on it a little bit, how it can even happen to us. We can get caught up. It's easy for me to go, well, that's not me. I don't have that problem. But then to go, oh, geez, I was making, like, I told you guys, I think last April I made $11,000 on crypto. In June I made $12,000. Not so much this year, right? And I've had to bring myself back to, it doesn't matter. We have our ups and our downs, and the money is not important.
Right.
My salvation is important. I still have a home with heat and hot water, and those material that currency has helped me in a lot of ways that are still helping me. So it's not like it came and went and there's nothing to show for it, but it can even get us. I talked about that we cannot be with oneness. They hate that we would want that Adam and Eve scenario. Their oneness is a little different because they're talking about the enlightenment of the yin and the yang, like the the demiurge and the Lucifer that coming together and creating that oneness. But they don't want us to know that we can have that Adam and Eve scenario. Case in point, where they say they will kill their neighbors, because what are we supposed to do? Love our neighbor.
Right.
They will have us killing our neighbors, because that is the literal opposite of what we're supposed to do by loving our neighbors, establishing governments and opposing and opposites, owning both sides. People, if you are saying Republican is right, and I don't think anyone here is probably, but if anyone is saying Republican is right, or no, Democrat's right, you are part of the system, of the issue, of the problem, of the Hegelian dialectic. The pure blood thing we did already talk about, so I made a note. I just want to, and separated from that oneness by religion. How many Christian religions, not just religions of other, and not just Muslim or other religions, how many Christian religions argue what the Bible says and what it teaches? And it's so interesting that they said that they would guide us kindly and gently. And now they're getting a little harsher. And I think they're making some mistakes because it's getting kind of a little bit too. We'll see how it goes. But again, they talk about extinguishing the light. Extinguishing our light. What are we supposed to be? We're supposed to be the light of Jesus Christ.
Right, the light of the world, like Christ, the light on the hill.
The city on the hill. And with ridicule and death, isn't it hard to be ridiculed? No one can sit here and go, well, I can take it. Can you really take a whole group of people throwing things at you, ridiculing you, and making you feel fearful or even possibly to death? We will have to go through that very possibly, and we will do it. And then killing our children. Oh, that broke my heart, because that's what they want. And if you read the Jesuit oath, just how disgusting that is, their oath of how they'll bash children's heads into walls. Sorry to be gruesome, but that is a thing that they say. They need us in fear. They need us angry. And like I said, it was working on me a little bit, was very anxious for the last year. I get tired of it. I get frustrated. And yet we need to go into prayer in those moments. And I'm telling myself this more than anybody else. So, but yes, that's what I wanted to say on the last bit.
Yeah. This, the whole thing of killing children. I mean, that is part of the agenda, the infertility and the depopulation. And that is, I mean, how insane, to murder the innocents. It speaks in the scriptures that it would be better for you to never have been born than to do harm to one of the children. And yet that's one of their focuses, the drives for the New World Order. So absolutely insane. And we'll continue on. We will always hide the divine truth from them, that we are all one. This they must never know. They must never know that color is an illusion. They must always think they are not equal. Drop by drop, drop by drop, we will advance our goal. We will take over their land, resources, and wealth to exercise total control over them. We will deceive them into accepting laws that will steal the little freedom they will have. We will establish a money system that will imprison them forever, keeping them and their children in debt. When they shall band together, we shall accuse them of crimes and present a different story to the world, for we shall own all the media. We will use our media to control the flow of information and their sentiment in our favor. When they shall rise up against us, we will crush them like insects, for they are less than that. They will be helpless to do anything, for they will have no weapons. A whole lot here in just these two paragraphs. The whole thing of debt and slavery, and then the establishment of a money system that is a Ponzi scheme that we will imprison them forever, keeping them and their children in debt. I mean, the whole central bank, loaning money at interest to governments and having the taxes and wages and earnings of the people to pay down that debt. I mean, that is a whole strategy, satanic strategy, which they described there in the previous paragraph, that they've established, and they've succeeded in imposing this massive enslavement system upon the entire world. And through the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and these different international agencies where they loan money to governments and then charge the put the debt on the people. I mean, this is exactly what they've done, and they succeeded. And it's through this one single policy, this one single system, that they have imposed, this burden, this huge, as far as the weight of all this debt upon all these people. They've pretty much enslaved everybody into the system of economic control, and the crises that they are able to create with inflation and deflation, and the Federal Reserve System, and imposing, in interest rate control. I mean, it's absolutely insane. But I'll turn it back over to you, let you comment on this too. This is very important part of the whole control grid.
One thing we can absolutely see is how companies like BlackRock and a couple others are buying up a lot of land and homes and areas where homes are, and they are selling them themselves. And BlackRock is a part of the WEF, interestingly enough, obviously the New World Order, and part of the Great Reset of you'll own nothing. That's why they're buying it all up. You'll own nothing and you'll like it. That stealing of freedom, little by little, like you said, the frog in the boiling water doesn't start boiling. It starts out cold, and it slowly warms up until the frog is boiling and doesn't even know it until it's too late.
Right.
And they talk about owning the media and owning no weapons. And luckily, we're not there yet. We could have a revival where we still have our weapons in the United States. We're not done, and maybe even Canada and Australia are not done, but they're certainly much, much further along. If you look at what Klaus Schwab has said about implementing people like Trudeau, that has been on purposefully to implant young people into positions of power that will go against their constituents. They will not care what the majority in their country wants. They will go, and that's what we're also starting to see in the U.S. They do not care what the majority wants. In fact, you've got, like they said, they'll own the media. The media is putting the majority viewpoints into a position of these are right-wing crazies. Now, I know that it's the majority, so it seems odd, but the minority that are listening and the people that are in power are enough to continue to push us into that into that right-wing fringe group that they want to put us in, that we're either Nazis or we're white supremacists, and kind of the same thing, sort of, that we're just crazy with our thoughts and our beliefs. And yet a lot of it's coming to light, and the cognitive dissonance, though, is so strong that they won't ever see it. And that's where we kind of have to let go and try to have compassion, and knowing that there's some that we're going to be able to pull from the fire and there's some that we're not. But I wanted to mention that meant to mention earlier is a book that you recommended, The Ascendancy of the Scientific Dictatorship. And I know I'm mentioning a little bit out of place, but before I forgot, I wanted to mention that is a fantastic book that very much describes how science, and that's kind of where we are today, right? Science has become, according to Fradji, science is truth. But if you read where science has come from, the people behind it and their ultimate goals, and the Marxism and the communism behind it, and it's just, this book is filled with a lot of great information, and my father called it a high fog index. It was a heavy read for him and for me. But if you read through it just little by little, you will see that there is this, not the science fiction included with the regular quote unquote science, and its pseudoscience, of course, has been pushed and pushed and pushed so that we would believe a globe, that we would believe outer space, that we believe in evolution, that we believe in pandemics, that we believe in all these things. So I wanted to bring up that book, but little by little, our freedoms, and not so little lately, but it is little by little, because they're going to do these big things to us, everybody. And then they're going to go, oh, here you go, you can have it all back. And then we're going to say, oh, thank you, back to normal. In fact, I just had a friend tonight say, I'm just so glad to see things go back to normal. She went to a concert last night here in Billings, Montana, and there was 10,000 people. And she said she saw maybe 2 masks. And she said, oh, I'm so glad things are going back to normal. Well, until they take it away again, right? So just like kind of with the flights and the amount of protocol there is now just to take a flight and go through security, the Patriot Act, they're going to take it away again, and it's going to be worse and worse. So yes, that's what I wanted to say about that.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. And the things like the V passports and driver's licenses and all of that are going to be linked up with those kind of things, with the jab and the hokey pokey and all that. So it's unfortunate, but they're going to continue to hype it up whenever they can, and they're going to continue to promote and push that all the world receive the snake bite, and that it's all part of the normal cycle of life and being, that everybody continues to get this thing. So, but yeah, let's continue on, because we got 30 minutes to make it through the last portions. So I think we'll do this. When they shall band together, we shall accuse them of crimes and present a different story to the world, for we shall own. Oh, I did read this. All the media. Yeah, that was an important aspect of it too, because it is through the media that they are able to sway people's opinions. And they do utilize the media in this country, which does nothing to inform us of truth or to give us informed opinions so that we can, make our own decisions. It's all about swaying and stirring and guiding opinions so that there's just consent without any true knowledge or basis for having such consent. It's just they, tell you what they want you to know, and most people trust the media. They accept it and toe the line. But continuing, we will recruit some of their own to carry out our plans. We will promise them eternal life, but eternal life they will never have, for they are not of us. The recruits will be called initiates and will be indoctrinated to believe false rites of passage to higher realms. Members of these groups will think they are one with us, never knowing the truth. Let me just mention that it's my opinion that and it mentions this at the end of the document, that this secret covenant is something that was put forth by the legion, the powers, the principalities, the rulers of darkness, spiritual wickedness in high places. And so that's why it keeps speaking about we, and separate from humanity, or the initiates, or those that are the worker bees, the the pyramid, that serve the capstone. And so this really is how it is in the world too, because as Paul said, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but these power principalities and rulers of darkness. But one more paragraph, then I'll get you to comment. They must never learn this truth, for they will turn against us. For their work they will be rewarded with earthly things and great titles, but never will they become immortal and join us. Never will they receive the light and travel the stars. They will never reach the higher realms, for the killing of their own kind will prevent passage to the realm of enlightenment. This they will never know. Well, these angels, they gave up their first estate. They lost their original place of habitation, and they are now placed under the authority of death. And because of that, they also will die the second death, and they will be destroyed as if they had never been. They brag of having this immortality and this freedom, but they gave it up, and they are going to lose it, and they are going to be judged for the things that they did in supporting evil and leading humanity astray. Erin?
Yeah, they say that we will never be immortal, and I think it's interesting because they are selling that idea to
Exactly. Yeah.
Good to
point.
the cattle, that you will be.
Right.
And they're selling the idea that not only
Right.
will you be, you'll have this abundant life, and you can have this Kardashian style lifestyle. You can be like the elites. And I think things like Instagram, and mainly Instagram, I don't know about other things, maybe YouTube a little bit, have led people to believe that they can become like gods, that they can become this very elite person without having any kind of, you don't have to have any talent. You don't have to have anything necessarily special about you, except for a willingness to make the things of this world more important than anything else. Like they promise it will make the things of this world exciting to you. You'll be rewarded with the earthly things. And if you're willing to get that Botox, you're willing to get your eyebrows done, you're willing to get the tummy tuck, or not even necessarily big surgery, but you'll go and you'll spend money to do these things and take these special pictures and look like something else. In fact, I watched a show that was based apparently on a real woman by the name of Anna Sorokin. Doesn't matter. Anyways, anybody can correct me on it. And she was a woman who infiltrated her way into a socialite society and led people to believe that she was an heiress of a German heiress, she called herself, and that she had a trust of $60 million. And she had bankers. She had gone so far to fool people. There's a lot more to the story I won't get into, but she had gone so far to fool bankers into almost loaning her $40 million to start a new high-end club in New York. And I think about people like that, and I think there is no possibility of knowing Jesus in their life. What's important to them is what they're wearing, who they're with, and where they're seen. And they would rather die than be seen anywhere but those places or wearing anything but those clothes. And this woman there was an Instagram was started for her and the clothing that she was wearing at court. And that is what they're doing. They're saying, we're going to throw these things at them, and we're going to make that the most important thing, and this big city life or this. And how do they do that? They get you to want to move to the big city. And what did you say? There was nowhere for the homeless people to go. Think about the people live in New York that have nothing. And then think about the prices that they pay for the people that even have the smallest of apartments. And then you think about the wealth, and they believe they're very far from us. But what did they say also? They were going to recruit initiates, and that includes not just that actually doesn't quite include the small jobs. That's kind of the bigger jobs. The people that are going to enforce law, the court systems, the police, the judges, the doctors even, right? Because they're kind of enforcing that too now by saying, you got to get this. This is something you got to do, or you're something wrong with you. And the lawyers and all of that is now a part of that recruit, the initiates that they mentioned. These are the people that are going to put down the boot on you and say, okay, it's easy to say, like I was in the medical field. I thought I was doing the right thing. But these people who think they're doing the right thing are not doing the right thing because they're one of the initiates. They're being indoctrinated to do what they're told to do, so that when the time comes that they say, look at Canada, where police are saying, you are arrested because you honked your horn. But the police are willing to arrest somebody for that. They're willing over these small incidents to say, well, I was told I have to do it, and I'm going to do it. Doctors are saying, I was told you have to take this medicine. You need to take this medicine. The courts are saying, you don't want to do it. We're going to also continue to help enforce these new laws and restrictions. And that is the worst part of all, is that the system is against us. And that's where you and I talked a couple months ago about, not just 2 months ago, but even 2 months before that, about our rights and trying to know how we can stand up for ourselves the best that we can. It isn't easy because we are fighting a massive uphill battle, and you can be arrested just for not wanting to show your ID or showing your driver's license or little things like that. You can be thrown in jail because you don't want to get the jab. We don't know what's going to happen, but we are preparing our minds and our hearts for what's to come, and to continue to fight back for the Most High's will in our life. And let us continue to pray that we are working in that purpose. And it might be for some of us not to fight back as hard as I might be or somebody else might be, but to learn how to when the time comes. Back to you, Zen.
Yeah, a lot of those people are part of these Freemasonic brotherhoods, the judges, the sheriffs and police deputies and things like that. And so unfortunately there is an organized evil that does corrupt from the top down different organizations, and just like with the doctors and the jabs and all that, and how they think they're doing good, and that this is all incorporated into the medical establishment. Because in general, people are good-hearted and wish the best for others, but there, like I said, there is this organized evil, and there's this other bloodline that is at war with the masses, and that take blood oaths and serve a different agenda. And unfortunately, their agenda is to control and to slaughter the innocents and to decimate the masses, which it's for those that don't know about these people and have not heard of that agenda, it's hard to wrap your mind around it and to give that consideration. But it is the truth of it. We'll continue on. We're almost done. The truth will be hidden in their face, so close they will not be able to focus on it until it's too late. Oh yes, so grand the illusion of freedom will be that they will never know they are our slaves. When all is in place, the reality we will have created for them will own them. This reality will be their prison. They will live in self-delusion. When our goal is accomplished, a new era of domination will begin. Their minds will be bound by their beliefs, the beliefs we have established from time immemorial. And so, this is the grand matrix, or what I call the grand matrix. And it's exactly what Satan, in creating a separate, reality for people when they're born into this world, so that we never even know our true purpose, and that there's a spiritual reason, a greater purpose and reason for our being born and entering into flesh form. And that, that purpose is to know and to learn about our Savior, our Messiah, and how eternity salvation is through him. But we get caught up in the whole 9 to 5 of, becoming, getting an education so we can become good worker bees, and that we can have a good job so we can make money and support that whole dream of materialism, the American dream of two-car garage and a couple, 2 children, spouse, and being able to pay your bills even though people live beyond their means, and had take on credit debt and try to live from check to check. I mean, it's a struggle. People are really struggling out there, and with all of what just happened with the economic shutdown and everything being the whole pandemic, and how people lost their jobs and their dreams and their goals, and so much of the world was shut down. It was, people are on the edge of just trying to make it, and a lot of people are being challenged as far as their mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical stability. Things are very difficult. And also, I just wanted to make mention, TGS. I saw your message there in the chat room. Reach out to me, Zen Garcia 2010@gmail.com. Send me an email and I'll see what we can do to help you out, brother. But let me give you a chance to comment, and I think we have one more section and we should be able to finish up in the last 15 minutes.
Okay, I won't go long then. I was going to mention one small thing. We don't even think about the things that might not affect us. I was watching a show. Okay, you guys can judge me if you want to, but it was on Netflix called Cheer, and it was about this cheering squad down in Texas, and these kids work so hard to make it into a competition. So if anybody's ever competed, if anybody's ever been in any kind of sports, if anybody's ever been chess champion, I don't care, whatever you've competed in, it's so important when you get to that point where you are, whether it's against yourself or against other people, you are fighting for that ability, that skill, that next best step, that new time, that new skill. And this cheering squad, as I was watching this show, very interesting and probably a little contrived, but they missed their cheer. They had been training for all year. They missed their final conference or whatever because of the fake, the COVID. And that made me sad to think about all the kinds of things that people missed out on without us realizing all the hurt and the anxiety and the depression and all the things that people missed out on. They talk about truth hidden in our face. The truth has been in our face this whole time, and yet the whole country caved in, the whole world caved in for this. Isn't it something what they have done? Zen, go ahead and finish with what you were doing with the rest of the story.
All right. Yeah, we've got just 2 more paragraphs, I believe, left, and we shall finish it. Oh no, just 3 paragraphs. So I'll finish it up and we'll comment, then we'll give out emails and stuff again one more time. All right, it says, but if they ever find out they are our equal, we shall perish then. This they must never know. If they ever find out that together they can vanquish us, they will take action. They must never ever find out what we have done, for if they do, we shall have no place to run, for it will be easy to see who we are once the veil has fallen. Our actions will have revealed who we are, and they will hunt us down, and no person shall give us shelter. This is the secret covenant by which we shall live the rest of our present and future lives. For this reality will transcend many generations and lifespans. This covenant is sealed by blood, our blood. We, the ones from heaven to earth came. This covenant must never ever be known to exist. It must never ever be written or spoken of, for if it is, the consciousness it will spawn will release the fury of the prime creator upon us, and we shall be cast to the depths from whence we came, and remain there until the end of time of infinity itself. And, again, for the people that know the story of the war in heaven, the fall of the angels, how the separation of light and darkness, that they became legion, and that we have, since we, as far as the bloodlines and Adam and Eve and their fall and our entrance into this world, that the enmity between the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent, the two bloodlines at war with one another, that is a continuation of that war in heaven. And that legion, the powers, the principalities, the rulers of darkness, they are the ones that have authored not only the secret covenant, but also the New World Order. They're the ones behind the protocols of the learned elders of Zion, the report from Iron Mountain, and so many other things where they are targeting and have had their children, the sons of Cain, and all the humans that join through secret society and the Freemasonic groups and organizations that have joined the New World Order and taken these blood oaths to bring forth world government and the New World Order, and also the reign of the Antichrist, because that's all part of it as well. It's not about just quote unquote global, which we know is a false edict, but global domination. But it's all about uniting the world in this one world economic, religious, political system, and then handing it over to the Antichrist and preparing the world to accept those who from heaven to earth came, the Anunnaki, the seraphim angels, the fallen angels, to accept them as the creators of humanity and as the rulers and the benefactors of humanity, and to deny the truth and the power and the glory, the majesty of the true, as they call him, the prime creator, the Godhead of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. That was their purpose. Lucifer, in his descent, he said, I will exalt my throne above the stars and the clouds of God. I will establish my throne in the sides of the north, above the mount of the congregation, and I will be like the Most High. So that's their purpose, to deceive humanity into worshiping them and to paying homage to them. That's the whole reason why Satan said to Christ, if you just, bow to me, and I will give you all the kingdoms of the world. And so that's where we're going. That's where we're headed. And Erin?
I'm quite grateful you wanted to cover this Illuminati covenant and protocols again tonight, even though I've heard a little bit of it from you before, enough so that I included it in one of my videos, which I shared with the chat. But to go over it again is, they don't want it known. It says
Right.
They don't want it known. The more that we share
Exactly.
it, the more that we talk about it, and the more that we even understand it to a point where we can talk about it in a way, it's like kind of see one, do one, teach one. You hear about it and you're like, oh yeah, that clicks as true. That rings as true. Then you read it and start to understand it. And then you can begin to talk about it. And I know it's so hard to talk to people in this day and age, but we have to remember that the book of Jude that just precedes the book of Revelation does talk about persevering, that there is going to be a time that we should have compassion. And that is so hard. I'm talking about me. That is so hard right now to have compassion on others in a time where we're saying, can't you see? It's right here. It's in front of our, like they said, it would be in front of their faces. And yet they don't see it. And we get to. So praise the Most High that we get to see the truth. Thank you, Abba Father, that we see the truth. But also, as the book of Jude says in chapter 1, verses 17 on, to have compassion on those who do not, and that there will be some that we can even pull from the fire, even in this time, that we are not, I don't think we're quite inside of the book of Revelation. Some could argue, not the argument that we're going to have tonight. Some could argue that we're not, but let's say we're not. Then we're still at the point where Jude says, have compassion while even pulling some out of the fire. And let us do that. Let us persevere, and let us not get dogged down with the depression and the anxiety that they would love for us to have, and not feel rewarded by the earthly things, because some people are not suffering right now. Some people are being rewarded with earthly things still. And whatever is going on with Russia and Ukraine, we don't know for sure. Are there really refugees running to other countries? Are they not? Probably. The point is let us steel our minds on what we can do in his purpose for our lives right now, for the people right around us, and not get too worried about the bigger picture. And this covenant should not anger us, but should help us feel that we have been given answered prayer for our prayers of wisdom, our prayers of discernment, and our prayers of truth from the Most High alone, that he is giving us information not to frustrate us, not to depress us, not to give us anxiety, but to remember that we now know what is being done. And while that's hard, because we have to see our brothers and sisters that don't want to listen, they are literal brothers and sisters and friends and family and things like that who don't want to hear the truth. And yet we can still love them and have compassion and try not to. I find myself on a fence of legalism oftentimes, where I'm like, I'm getting legalistic if I get too far to this side of how much I want to tell somebody something. And I have to bring myself back and say, okay, bring it back and just know that they're not seeing it right now. Maybe they will later, or maybe they never will, but at least I planted that seed, and it can get uncomfortable.
Yes.
We can say uncomfortable things too. So let us not be too harsh on the legalistic side, but also be willing to say uncomfortable things and to push back, which is why we've talked about how to prepare, which is why we've talked about how to push back when it comes to our rights, and how we're not trying to go out and start a fight. We're just trying to, if we have the opportunity to hopefully educate people when we run into these situations where we're pushing back, we hope that we're showing the light of Jesus, being that city on the hill like we talked about earlier, and finding a way to show who the Most High is, Jesus Christ, in our life, and not for our own gain. So thank you for recommending this subject tonight. It was fun that you came up with the topic, because while I've heard it, I still can learn so much from it. We can all learn so much from it. So everybody, the link is in the description box. I think you said, right, Zen? Everybody could read through this over and over and over, and just learn it word for word.
Right. Email address one more time, Erin, for those who want to, get in touch with the community.
My email address is ladyliberty@countermail.com, and I'll type it in the chat too, but ladyliberty@countermail.com, and I will share the Discord one more time as well. And feel free, everyone's welcome. If you need prayer, just let us know and we'll pray for you. Even if you need a call, I'm willing to do a call or a text or whatever people need.
All right. Hey, we appreciate everybody joining us in the chat room. I hope that you did enjoy the chat. There was certainly a lot of dialogue. The Most High bless all of you, protect all of you, keep you under his grace and lead you in discernment. Again, we appreciate all of you and love all of you. Be blessed. And thank you again, Erin, for joining me for another awesome show.
I'm honored. Shalom. Good night.
Shalom. Good night, all. And we'll do it again in a month or two. Be blessed, all. Good night.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this video and this broadcast. We appreciate all of you and thank you for your patronage. Please do like and subscribe and share with your friends. God bless all of you in your seeking.